All right, the second part of Notes A for Unit 13 is going to, again, continue being about the standard form. So we said y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. It does not matter if we have capital letters or lowercase letters when you see the standard form. Different textbooks, different resources will show it either way. Does not matter. So when we use standard form, we can find the same things that we did in vertex form. We just find them in a different order. So the first thing we're going to find when we have standard form is we're going to find the axis of symmetry using the equation x equals negative b over 2a. So when we look at the first practice, the first thing I like to do is identify a, b, and c. So a equals 1, b equals 6, and c equals to 1. So my axis of symmetry is x equals negative b over 2a. So negative 6 over 2 times 1. Negative 6 over 2 equals to negative 3. So my axis of symmetry is x equals negative 3. Then I'm going to use negative 3 to find my vertex by plugging that in to my original equation. And what you can do then, after you write it, is type it into your computer exactly like you see it. It's really important to keep your parentheses just like you see written there. So we have equals to negative 8. So my axis of symmetry, or my vertex is negative 3, negative 8. So that's what we're learning for this notes. So for number 2, we go through, we are going to identify A, B, and C. We're going to find our axis of symmetry, negative b over 2a. So negative b over 2 times a. So a negative times a negative is a positive 4 over negative 4 equals negative 1. And you can see the hardest part of this is making sure that you have the parentheses and the negative signs lined up. Once we find the axis of symmetry, we're going to use that number to go into our original equation. Equals, we'll use our calculator. Minus 4 times negative 1, parentheses plus 3, equals to 5. So what I would recommend doing right now is pausing the video, practice plugging this into your calculator and making sure you get the same number that I get. It's really important to practice on your calculator using those parentheses to make sure we get the same values. Most mistakes on this are simple calculator or negative sign mistakes. All right, so now that we know that, we can do a couple more practice. So first practice, I do the same thing. I identify A, B, and C. I'm going to find my axis of symmetry. Equals negative 2. I'm going to use that number into my original equation. Plug that in my calculator. Again, this is great practice for you to pause the video, plug that in your calculator. We get negative 9. So my vertex is negative 2, negative 9. All right, next example. This is a good one to go through. So we first want to identify our variables. A is 5, B is 0, and C is negative 3. So B is 0 because, right, I have 0x in my original equation. So we're going to find our axis of symmetry. Negative 0 over 2 times 5, which equals 0. We're going to use that number into our vertex. So we have our vertex is 0, negative 3. All right, last example here. -2, 4, and 5 are our A, B, and C values. Axis is symmetry. -4 over 2 times -2, +1. Plug that into our original equation. Okay, let's practice plugging that in our calculator. Seven, and we have our vertex is 1, 7. Show you those a little bit more. And that is part 2 of Notes A.